The world around us feels stable, predictable, explainable, but hidden beneath that illusion is something far more unsettling. A collection of entities, objects, and phenomena that defy everything we understand about reality, things that shouldn't exist yet do. Documented, contained, and studied by a shadow organization known as the SCP Foundation. These anomalies range from the bizarre to outright terrifying. In this video, we'll be taking a closer look at some of these entities, breaking down their appearance, their behavior, and the very real danger they pose. Some are passive, others are not, and a few should never be encountered under any circumstances. So with that being said, let's take a closer look. SCP-457 is a highly dangerous anomalous entity documented by the SCP Foundation, classified as Euclid with potential to escalate into Keter. At its core, it's a sentient organism composed entirely of flame, capable of growth, adaptation, and increasingly complex behavior as it consumes fuel. While it may appear simple at first glance, SCP-457 represents a constantly evolving threat that becomes more intelligent and more dangerous the larger it gets. SCP-457 does not possess a physical body in the traditional sense. Its true form remains completely undetectable, with only the flames it generates outlining its presence. In its smallest state, it resembles nothing more than a single flame, similar in size to a matchstick, indistinguishable from a normal fire at first glance. As it feeds and grows, its shape becomes more defined. With sufficient fuel, it begins forming a roughly humanoid silhouette made entirely of fire. At larger sizes, this form becomes more stable and deliberate, appearing as a fully upright figure composed of roaring flames. Despite this, its actual structure remains unknown, hidden beneath the fire it continuously produces. SCP-457 operates on a simple but relentless directive: consume fuel and expand. In its small state, its behavior is basic and instinct-driven, showing little more than the neutral tendencies of fire, with the exception of deliberately spreading to new sources. However, as it grows, its intelligence develops alongside its size. Once it reaches roughly human scale, SCP-457 begins to demonstrate signs of awareness and communication. It has been observed forming words by burning letters into surfaces and on rare occasions, producing speech through the manipulation of heated air and flame. At higher levels of growth, its behavior becomes far more concerning. It has shown the ability to learn, adapt, and even manipulate its environment. There's been instances where it intentionally damaged containment systems and attempted to deceive personnel in order to gain access to additional fuel. When SCP-457 reaches a certain size threshold, it will split into multiple instances of itself. These separate forms are hostile toward one another, often attempting to consume or extinguish each other if resources are limited. The entity was originally recovered following a series of wildfires in 2007, though its true origin remains completely unknown. The primary danger of SCP-457 lies in its scalability. The larger and more intelligent it becomes, this creates a direct relationship between its size and its threat level, turning even a small flame into a potentially catastrophic entity if left unchecked. It is capable of rapidly spreading between flammable materials, effectively jumping from one source to another, and assimilating them into its total mass. At higher levels of intelligence, it has demonstrated problem-solving abilities, including sabotaging sprinkler systems and exploiting structural weaknesses within its containment. SCP-457 has also shown signs of basic reasoning and desire, frequently expressing hunger and a need to grow. Its interactions suggest that it does not simply burn instinctively, it actively seeks expansion. Its vulnerability to water remains one of the only reliable methods of control, though even this becomes less effective as it increases in size and complexity. SCP-457 is not just a fire, it is a living, thinking force that grows stronger with every second it is allowed to exist. And the longer it burns, the harder it becomes to stop. SCP-966 is a predatory anomalous species classified as Euclid, known for targeting humans and other animals through a method far more insidious than a direct physical attack. Rather than relying on strength, these entities weaken their victims over time, turning the body against itself until collapse becomes inevitable. Despite being relatively fragile creatures, their method of hunting makes them exceptionally dangerous, especially due to how difficult they are to detect. SCP-966 instances resemble thin, hairless humanoids with digitigrade legs, standing between 1.4 and 1.6 meters tall, and weighing up to 30 kilograms. Their faces are elongated, with mouths lined with needle-like teeth, and each hand ending in 5 long claws that can reach up to 20 centimeters in length, though these are brittle and not well suited for direct combat. Their bodies are physically weak, with hollow bones and low muscle density, giving them a frail appearance. One of their most unusual traits is their visibility. SCP-966 can only be seen within infrared wavelengths between 700 and 900 nanometers, rendering them completely invisible to the naked human eye. Only when their tissues are severely burned do portions of their bodies become visible across a wider spectrum. They do not appear to sleep in a conventional sense, instead entering brief, motionless states at random intervals before resuming activity. These entities primarily feed on medium to large animals, including humans, and typically hunt alone or in pairs. Their method of predation revolves around emitting a single burst of an unknown wave that permanently removes the victim's ability to enter both REM and non-REM sleep stages, including microsleep. Once affected, the victim is biologically incapable of achieving rest, regardless of intervention. While unconsciousness can still be induced, it does not restore the body, often worsening the condition instead. After initiating this effect, SCP-966 will begin stalking its target, remaining silent, agile, and almost impossible to detect. In some cases, they deliberately heighten psychological stress by producing threatening sounds or even physically interacting with the victim to accelerate exhaustion. Over time, the lack of sleep leads to complete physical and mental deterioration, eventually leaving the victim unable to function. At that point, SCP-966 moves in to feed. Prolonged exposure to these waves has also been linked to severe hallucinations and sudden, unprovoked aggression, suggesting an additional neurological impact beyond simple sleep deprivation. It is believed that SCP-966 may intentionally prolong this exposure in certain cases, possibly when starving, to speed up the breakdown of their prey. Their ability to remain unseen, combined with their hunting strategy that ensures eventual incapacitation, makes them especially difficult to survive once targeted. Although their emissions can be blocked by certain metals, particularly lead, most victims are unaware that they are being hunted until it is far too late. SCP-4666 is a Keter-class entity believed to be a single, extremely long-lived humanoid of unknown origin who actively follows a precise and deeply disturbing pattern. Unlike many anomalies, its behavior is not constant. It emerges only once each year during a 12-night period between December 21st and January 2nd, a phase during which it carries out what are known as events. These events occur exclusively in isolated, snow-covered regions north of 40 degrees latitude, always targeting families with at least one young child, suggesting a deliberate and selective method behind its actions. Witness descriptions portray SCP-4666 as an unnaturally tall, emaciated elderly man, typically between 2 and 2.3 meters in height, with a frail, almost skeletal frame. Despite often appearing in freezing environments, it is constantly observed completely naked, showing no visible reaction to extreme cold. Its physical appearance alone is unsettling, but its presence is often first detected not visually, but through its behavior, watching from a distance, standing motionless at the edge of forests or fields, or silently observing children through windows during the night. Its ability to move is equally unnatural, with evidence suggesting it can travel instantaneously or near instantaneously across vast distances, allowing it to appear at multiple locations within a single active phase. Each event unfolds in a gradual and methodical progression, During the first several nights, children begin reporting sightings of the entity, often dismissed by adults as imagination. As the nights pass, the activity accelerates. Footsteps are heard on rooftops or within attics, and a foul, unidentifiable odor begins to spread throughout the home. No physical cause is ever found, leaving families increasingly unsettled as the sense of being watched intensifies. By the final night, the event reaches its conclusion, and the outcome becomes irreversible. In most cases, SCP-4666 incapacitates the family while they are asleep, gathers them into a single location, and proceeds to kill them in front of one another. These acts are often preceded by forms of torture that appear ritualistic in nature. One child is typically spared, only to be abducted and taken away, their fate continuing beyond the event itself. In a smaller number of cases, the entity does not kill the family. Instead, it enters the home undetected and leaves behind crude gifts for the children, objects resembling toys constructed from the remains of other children. These creations are not only grotesque in appearance, but have been confirmed to originate from the previously abducted victims, some of whom were found to have been kept alive for extended periods under severe conditions before being used in these constructs. Survivors of each event are often left physically unharmed, but psychological impact is severe, as the implications of these gifts are fully understood only after investigation. The true motive behind SCP-4666 remains unknown, as does the reasoning behind why some families are killed while others are spared. What is clear, however, is that the behavior follows a consistent pattern that has been traced back for centuries, with records suggesting similar events occurring as far back as ancient Europe. Its ability to remain undetected until the final stages, combined with its apparent control over timing and location, makes it exceptionally difficult to contain or predict. SCP-4666 does not simply hunt, it observes, waits, and executes its actions with precision. SCP-4885 is a Keter-class humanoid anomaly, notable not only for its extreme lethality, but for the fact that simply knowing where it is can be enough to trigger an attack. The entity resembles the character Waldo from the Where's Waldo books, wearing a red and white striped shirt, bobble hat, and jeans, though its appearance is immediately wrong. Its skin is unnaturally pale, and it lacks any visible eyes. Despite its almost harmless, even nostalgic design, SCP-4885 operates under a set of rules that make it one of the most dangerous anomalies to encounter, as awareness itself becomes a fatal mistake. When an individual becomes aware of SCP-4885's current location, the entity will immediately respond. It will move towards the nearest surface and phase into it, reappearing from within the victim's body. From there, it forces its way up through the esophagus, grabbing the victim's jaw and violently pulling itself out, destroying internal organs and the spine in the process. In cases where it is already nearby, it may instead approach directly, forcing itself into the victim's mouth and exiting through the lower body. During this process, its form becomes unnaturally flexible, allowing its limbs and joints to contort and reposition as needed. Once the victim is killed, a yellow liquid will pour from the mouth, coating the body and transforming it into what is designated as SCP-4885-1 instance. These SCP-4885-1 instances are corpses completely covered in illustrations resembling those found in Where's Waldo books, as if their skin has been turned into a living page. These markings cannot be removed without removing the skin itself. More disturbingly, learning the location of one of the corpses will trigger the same response, with SCP-4885 appearing and killing the individual in an identical manner, spreading the effect further. This creates a chain reaction where knowledge alone propagates the threat. Due to this property, containment procedures are built around preventing awareness. The entity is believed to be held within an unknown location, and even personnel are forbidden from knowing where it is. Complex systems involving randomized transportation, isolated chambers, and automated processes are used to ensure that no individual can reliably track its position. Despite these measures, containment is only considered theoretical, as any breach could rapidly escalate through information alone. SCP-3199 is a Keter-class biological entity, representing a species of highly abnormal organisms with no clearly defined origin. Composed of a disturbing mix of genetic material including human and multiple animal sources, these creatures appear as large hairless humanoids covered in a thin, albumin-like substance, standing close to 3 meters tall and weighing several hundred kilograms. Their structure is equally unnatural, with flexible cartilage in place of normal bone in parts of the body, allowing their neck and throat to twist to extreme angles, a trait that plays a role in the reproductive process. Despite their size, SCP-3199 instances are fast and opportunistic hunters, capable of moving at significant speed and targeting living organisms within a set range of their young. When engaging prey, they attack in a way that rapidly destroys internal structure, leaving behind a usable body that is then brought back to a nearby hatchling. SCP-3199 produces large, rubbery eggs that are forced up through the body and expelled through the mouth, accompanied by a highly corrosive substance. The process is violent and distressing, often described as resembling a prolonged scream. These eggs are not limited in number, and the species appears driven to fill all available space with them, suggesting that, if left unchecked, a single instance could eventually lead to a large-scale biological takeover. Destroying individual instances is relatively straightforward, as they possess durability similar to that of a human, but complete eradication has proven nearly impossible. Every instance is born with an internal egg, ensuring that even if one is killed, another can emerge. The eggs themselves are extremely resilient, capable of withstanding intense physical force, pressure, and environmental damage, with only specific conditions proving effective in neutralizing them. Their growth is also influenced by heat, which can dramatically accelerate development and lead into rapid population increases. SCP-2750 is a Euclid-class anomaly, referring to a group of humanoid entities inhabiting the southwestern United States, particularly around northeastern Arizona and southern Utah near the Navajo Nation. At a glance, they appear indistinguishable from humans of Navajo descent, often wearing traditional clothing and masks associated with the 1800s. Biologically, they show no immediate abnormalities, but this resemblance hides their true nature. Beings capable of altering their physical form into various animals native to the region, including coyotes, wolves, foxes, eagles, and crows. This transformation is voluntary, and some instances have demonstrated the ability to take on multiple different animal forms, with subtle features such as their eyes often reflecting the creature they most frequently mimic. Despite these abilities, SCP-2750 instances are rarely encountered. They display a strong aversion to humans, actively avoiding settlements and migrating through remote areas in small groups while maintaining a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Their movements suggest an organized tribal structure, and their survival skills are highly refined, allowing them to remain undetected for long periods of time. Most known captured instances were only secured due to being weakened by injury, illness, or isolation from their group, further reinforcing how difficult they are to track or contain. Historical records of SCP-2750 date back to the mid-1800s, when early containment groups documented accounts from Navajo sources, describing entities capable of taking animal skins, mimicking voices, and even influencing the human mind. These accounts claim that SCP-2750 instances can track individuals with precision, imitate voices convincingly enough to lure victims, and in some cases, exert control over a person's thoughts or physical actions through direct focus. While the full extent of these abilities remain uncertain, their combination of intelligence, adaptability, and potential psychological influence makes them a persistent threat despite their reclusive nature. Although no confirmed field encounters have occurred in recent decades, signs of their presence such as tracks, camp remnants, and temporary shelters continue to surface. Their ability to remain hidden, combined with their understanding of both the environment and human behavior, suggests that their absence is not due to extinction but choice. SCP-017 is a Keter-class entity, taking the form of a small humanoid figure roughly the size of a child, though its nature remains unknown. Its body appears as a shifting, smoke-like mass of pure shadow, with no visible features or structure beneath the dark shroud that defines its shape. While it may seem motionless when observed, its behavior changes instantly in the presence of one specific trigger: shadow itself. SCP-017 reacts violently to any shadow cast onto its body. The moment even a small shadow overlaps with it, the entity will lunge toward the source, expanding its form to completely envelop the object responsible. Within seconds, the target is consumed, leaving behind no physical trace, no residue, and no indication that anything was ever there. This process is immediate, silent, and irreversible. Because of this, containment relies entirely on intense, constant lighting from every possible angle, ensuring that no shadows can form anywhere near it. Despite its small size, SCP-017's danger lies in how easily its conditions can be met. A single lapse in lighting, a misplaced step, or even the shadow of a person passing too close is enough to trigger an attack. It does not hesitate, does not miss, and does not leave anything behind. What exactly happens to what it consumes is unknown, and no attempts to recover anything taken from SCP-017 has ever been successful. SCP-6096 is a humanoid anomaly appearing as a small figure, completely concealed beneath a large cotton sheet, with no visible features and no confirmed understanding of what lies underneath. Despite its passive appearance, SCP-6096 possesses an overwhelming anomalous property. No living being is capable of consciously taking any action that would result in harm coming to it. This includes direct attacks, indirect planning, setting traps, or even attempting to interfere with its movement. Any such action simply cannot be carried out, as if the intent itself is blocked. For the most part, SCP-6096 remains calm and compliant, even allowing itself to be escorted or contained, so long as it is not placed in danger. However, at irregular intervals, it becomes active and begins moving toward a specific individual, chosen at random from anywhere in the world. The moment someone observes SCP-6096 in this state, they gain immediate knowledge of its target and location, along with an overwhelming compulsion to assist it in reaching that person. This results in groups of individuals unknowingly aiding the entity, removing any resistance and ensuring its path remains unobstructed. When SCP-6096 reaches its target, it slowly pulls them beneath the sheet. If the victim is conscious, they can be seen and heard struggling for an extended period, often lasting up to 40 minutes before disappearing entirely. This process is visibly violent and extremely painful, yet no one present is able to intervene. Even the victim themselves, while technically capable of resisting, has never successfully stopped it, often due to those around them being compelled to hold them in place. Once the act is complete, SCP-6096 returns to its passive state, as if nothing occurred. SCP-6096 represents a threat that cannot be fought, avoided, or resisted. It does not overpower its victims through strength, but through inevitability, turning everyone nearby into unwilling accomplices. And when it begins moving, someone, somewhere has already been chosen. Not everything the Foundation contains is something you can fight, or even understand. Some of these entities don't chase you, don't hunt you in the traditional sense, they simply exist, following rules that we have no control over. And the moment you cross into those rules, it's already too late. That's what makes these anomalies truly dangerous. It's not just their strength, or their appearance, it's the inevitability behind them. The idea that no matter how careful you are, no matter how prepared you think you are, there are still things out there that operate far beyond human control. So the next time you hear something you can't explain or feel like something is just slightly off, it might be better to not look too closely. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. And until next time, friends.